The NBA has a big problem on their hands with how much power the players have at their disposal. With this Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving situation, it has really opened my third eye to seeing that we're probably headed towards another lockout pretty soon. Because if I was an owner in the NBA or a GM, I'm definitely going to try to talk to Adam Silver about putting some type of provisions in the contract to stop players from just leaving when they want to. Because when it comes to player empowerment, I am all for it. But over the last couple of years, the things that have transpired have hurt the player empowerment movement more than anything else in history. But before we get into the crux of the argument, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell for post notifications.
Why do you want to be traded, Anthony?
I feel like it's my time. I gave the city, organization, fans, everything I feel like I could. Don't know how long I'm gonna play this game. People's careers are short, and I feel like it's my time to move on.
Now allow me to take you guys back to the summer of 2019. Anthony Davis had demanded a trade earlier on in the season, and the Pelicans essentially had no choice but to oblige to his wishes. Luckily for them, they ended up getting the first pick in the draft and a nice haul from the Lakers when they traded him to the Lakers in the first place. But what was so crazy about that situation that got swept under the rug is that Anthony Davis was able to essentially command the Pelicans to trade him wherever he wanted to by simply just having his agent come out and say, look, he doesn't want to play for a team like the Boston Celtics, so if you trade for him, he will leave in free agency, and by essentially doing everything possible to confirm that he wanted to play with LeBron in LA. I mean, think about it, Anthony Davis only had 1 year left on his contract, and the fact that the Pelicans got the haul that they received for a potential 1-year rental is insane. It really was just proof of how much the Lakers desperately wanted him and how much leverage the Pelicans had over that team, because AD clearly wanted to go there. Some may think that this is a good thing for the league, but the fact that Anthony Davis was able to just pick where he wanted to go and really controlled the situation in his own hands is insane. The man literally had to come out and say, I don't want to play for the Celtics, and if you trade for me, I will leave, which essentially forced the Pelicans to have to do business with the Lakers. Now, some of you guys may be saying, look, he only had 1 year left on his deal. What's the big deal if he picks where he wants to go? Well, that then brings me to what happened the next year. Look at James Harden. James Harden, one of the greatest scorers of all time in Houston, established himself as an all-time great MVP caliber player every single season. And from 2020 to 2022, he ends up on 3 different teams because he essentially forced his way out of them. He skips training camp and practices earlier on in the year before the season even starts. He's eating honey buns with Lil Baby and allegedly came in out of shape. If not, he was probably wearing a fat suit, and he gave Houston the list of teams that he wanted to go to. And the moment that it looked like they may not trade him, he said this on the stage.
We're just not good enough. Chemistry, talent-wise, just everything. And it was clear. I love this city. I literally, have done everything that I can. This situation is crazy. It's something that I don't think can be fixed. So.
The man did everything humanly possible to quit on the team, and look, I understand. Daryl Morey is gone, your buddy, your best friend who you're with now in Philly, he's out of there. D'Antoni, he's out of there. Chris Paul has been long gone for years, and Russell Westbrook, your buddy, your pal, your best friend, y'all couldn't make it work in 2020. But to do all those things to an organization that is essentially giving you everything that you wanted and still obliged to your trade request to the team that you wanted to go to is insane to me. But then when you go to the team that you wanted to be on in the Nets, I understand why you left, trust me, but you quit on them too. I mean, look, Kyrie Irving, yes, he did not take the vaccine, but it is his decision, and you have to roll with the punches in the NBA. Whether it was the hamstring injury or it's just a natural decline, James Harden did not hold up his end of the bargain in Brooklyn and still got his way out of there. It was very obvious he didn't want to be in Brooklyn. He visibly quit on the team, and yet despite that, he was still able able to go to the Sixers via trade. The man quit on 2 organizations and still ended up where he wanted to be in both situations. For the case of the Rockets, you had to move him because it's very obvious they weren't going to win a championship with him, and moving him was the only option. But then you look at Brooklyn and he just had them by the balls damn near. If they kept him, it probably would have caused some issues in that locker room, and if they don't win the championship, he's leaving because he has a player option to go anywhere that he wants. They had no leverage in that situation whatsoever. Now some of you guys may be saying, look, these are disgruntled superstars that had a year or 2 left on their contract. Of course they're gonna always be able to get their way. And that then brings me to Ben Simmons, because look, Ben Simmons is a really good player. He's a star level player because of his efforts on the defensive side of the ball. But what he did to the Philadelphia 76ers, you would have thought that this guy was a superstar. Not only was he in the wrong with how they went out in the playoffs against the Hawks, because he literally passed up an open layup on Trae Young of all people at the rim, but he then decided to ghost the team, and it wasn't until his checks started being affected that he finally decided to show up for work. And then after a long fought battle where he just doesn't play and didn't even show up to the games on the bench obviously, the Sixers trade him to what seemed like a very perfect scenario where he can finally play that point forward position and team up with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And unlike Anthony Davis and James Harden, he didn't have like 1 or 2 years left on his deal. He had just started his extension the previous year before all that mess happened. And like I said earlier, this is not some superstar. This is not some iconic player. This is Ben Simmons, a good player, but is not worth the amount of headache that he caused the Philadelphia 76ers in the last couple of months of him being on the team. Now to be fair, he did have issues with mental health, and we don't have to touch on the details of that, but it was very clear he did not want to play for the Sixers anymore, and he did it by any means necessary to get out of that situation. Now keep in mind that all of these examples over the past couple of years have built up to the point that we are now currently in with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. On one hand, you have Kyrie Irving, who's just been bitching the Brooklyn Nets, saying that they don't need a coach, not showing up to games because of crises in Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever it is in the world. Then on top of that, the man is injury prone. And now Kyrie Irving is about to get his extension, but it's clear the Nets don't want to give him a long-term deal, and Kyrie Irving has to opt in. But because of Kevin Durant's trade request, Kyrie Irving now essentially has to be moved. And of course, the only team that actually wants him is the Los Angeles Lakers, a team that not only is so desperate for talent but has LeBron James on it, so of course you know Kyrie wants to run back to his buddy. And I have no problem with Kyrie wanting to play with LeBron, but the fact that he essentially has all the leverage in this scenario is insane after everything that he has done to this Nets team. And the same thing applies to Kevin Durant, but even tenfold. KD on the other hand doesn't have 1 year left on his deal like Kyrie Irving, but he just signed his extension last year. That man has 4 more years left on his deal and still wanted out in the first year of the extension. And when you talk about availability, KD hasn't been that available himself. And on top of that, you talk about how you just have a team by the balls. KD and Kyrie had this team by the balls. Steve Nash, the consultant of KD's team in Golden State, yeah, that's the coach they wanted. And mind you, they got rid of Kenny Atkinson, their former coach, because he didn't give minutes to DeAndre Jordan over Jarrett Allen. Crazy. It was very clear that these two ran the organization and did everything and anything that they wanted. And to be fair, these are star players, and in the case of Kevin Durant, a superstar level player. But the fact that they were able to just run this organization into the ground and then get up and say, in the case of Kevin Durant, while you're just starting your new extension, yeah, I don't want to play here anymore. And the Nets have no choice but to move him potentially to the team that he wants, and in the case of Kyrie, also to the team that he wants, because no other team but that team wants him. It truly goes to show how much power the players have over these organizations, especially the star level players and beyond. And I'm not gonna say it hurts the product of the NBA, because the product of the league is always gonna be entertaining to me. I'm just a basketball junkie. But it just feels like nothing is ever secure. A contract really doesn't matter in the NBA anymore, because I could just ask out after my first year and the team has to do it because I'm a star level player and I get what I want in this league. Now I understand what the counter arguments to all of this is. Players can want out of their contracts and you're complaining about it, but when a team trades a player out of the blue, you never really care. Now, personally speaking, I do think it's messed up that a team could just get up and trade you without even talking to you about it. But my point in this video is not to say that I agree or disagree with the players wanting out of their current situations. I'm simply just highlighting how much power these players truly have in this scenario and why the NBA is probably going to do something about it during the next negotiations. And if progress isn't made when they do those negotiations, more than likely we are headed towards a lockout, because I don't see how front offices are looking at these situations and are happy in the slightest. Because not only are you losing your cash cow players and superstars, but now it's gotten to the point that even once you sign them, you're always on edge to lose them at any point in their contract. Not during the ending, but even in the beginning and the middle. And we're not just talking about guys like Kevin Durant or Luka Doncic or LeBron James level players. We're talking about guys like Ben Simmons getting his way now. I mean, Anthony Simons just signed his new deal. Is he gonna demand to trade out of Portland once he realizes they're still building around Dame? I mean, it's only gonna get crazier from here, so I definitely think the NBA has a problem on its hands just looming. But that concludes this video. Make sure you go and check out the latest episode of Hoop Concessions. We talked about Donovan Mitchell's trade rumors, Dame staying in Portland, the state of the WNBA, plenty of topics that we talked about on the recent episode. The link is down below. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. You guys stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.